Who in Africa dares to speak the truth? Well, we can ask that question here in America. Who in America dares to speak the truth? Don't you realize that what is going on in Africa is going on right here under our nose with our own government? Don't you realize that they're draining our bank accounts? What do you think Social Security is? It's a bank account for the American public. What do you think happens when you do not give the people who are willing to shed blood for you the things that they need to live a better life? And most of them will never live a better life because they've lost limbs, they've shed blood, and the only people that seems to care is their relatives, because Congress, the judicial branch, and the executive branch, they don't care anything about a lot of veterans or older people or people, period, because they're so busy like a lot of other people, and I'm going to say it, just like in Africa, those presidents and kings, they're lining their pockets with European money while their people are out there starving. But what do we have here? Nobody likes to talk about that. You want to hide the homeless. You know, you want to act like there's nothing going on here in your own country, in France. Okay? But you have a lot of racist ideologies and tactics and structures that affect a lot of your, what we would call, indigenous and African people. Now, we always get it twisted. If all mankind came from Africa, then that makes us all Africans. But that does not make us all brothers and sisters about the one thing that life should be about, and that's humanity. No matter what your color is. And you know, I put out a video, my first video, I got 7 views. Then I put it out after I made 200 and some videos, and people decided to take the time to look at the video and understand that just because you see a European giving you black knowledge or American history, you don't want to watch it. You don't want to take the time. But when you take the time, you get educated. And that's the whole point of what we're trying to do, at least what I'm trying to do. This man can educate us on our own history, because guess who has our history? The same people who took it, the same people who feed you lies, the same people who are misusing the brothers and sisters over there in Africa. And I don't care if they're a white hue or a black hue. When you start talking about being economically challenged, financially exploited, there is no color on that. But there is something that the man has put between people of color and people that lack color. Put it like that. And he has taught us to hate each other, and that way he can keep stealing from all of us, and he can misuse us, and he can make us fight his wars. See, he's not going to fight the war. His children are not going to fight the war. You and I got to do that. And guess what? Once you go into that military, you never come back the same. But let me tell you something. I'm one male. No, I'm one man talking. But I'm going to give you and let you listen to this if you would be so kind, because I know that your attention span is like a gnat. But when you're learning, you have to go through that. And if you want the knowledge, you will take the time. Always remember something. You may not like the messenger, but if you're truly searching for the message and the truth, you'll take the time to listen.
Who in Africa dares to speak the raw, unfiltered truth about why the continent has struggled for so long? How can a land so rich in resources remain so poor? Dr. Arikana didn't hold back. She fearlessly called out powerful individuals and exposed hidden truths that no one dared to touch. She didn't worry about being politically correct. Her focus was solely on what Africans needed to know. But what exactly did she say that captured the world's attention? Let's find out. Let's get straight to it. Dr. Arikana Chihombori Kwao just set the stage on fire with one of the most explosive speeches Africa has witnessed in recent years. This wasn't your run-of-the-mill diplomatic talk. No, it was a scorching, no-holds-barred call to action that left African leaders visibly shaken. Imagine a thunderstorm rolling into a quiet town, the kind that doesn't just pass through but leaves a trail of uprooted trees and shattered windows. That's the kind of impact Dr. Arikana had when she took the podium in South Africa. Now, let's break down the speech that's got everyone talking. Dr. Arikana wasn't content with merely pointing fingers at the age-old Western powers we've grown used to blaming for Africa's woes. Instead, she flipped the script in a way that no one saw coming. She put African leaders directly in the hot seat. In a room filled with some of the most influential figures on the continent, she pulled no punches, accusing these leaders of being the gatekeepers of Africa's misery. According to her, it's not just foreign powers that are bleeding Africa dry. It's the very people who claim to protect it. Here's where it gets interesting. Dr. Arikana likened the current crop of African elites to gatekeepers who have locked the continent in a cycle of dependency. Not on chains or whips, but on contracts, aid, and handouts. She argued that the real betrayal is not just the historical looting by colonial forces, but the modern-day sellout by African leaders who continue to sign deals that strip their nations of resources while filling their own pockets. What's the price of loyalty to your people? She asked, her voice resonating like a drumbeat. The room fell silent. It was the kind of question that hangs in the air long after it's been asked. Dr. Arikana went on to detail how some African leaders have essentially become gatekeepers for Western interests, betraying their citizens for a slice of the pie. But here's the thing, it's not even a real pie. It's the crumbs from the Western feast, while the continent remains starving.
The question is, our leadership is fully aware of the pillars of development.
Now, they'll probably make this start spinning, so I'll just ad lib. Let's look at America. Let's look at the gatekeepers here. Clarence Thomas. Let's look at some of the senators who look like you but don't vote in your best interest. And then let's look at another Arikana, but her name is Jasmine Crockett. And they want her to shut up because when you start telling the truth, when you start shining a flashlight in those dark corners, you start understanding why Social Security and a lot of the other money starts missing. Because there has not, I don't know of a broke senator. I don't know of a representative that is not rich. And when you talk about a judge or a Supreme Court justice or, God forbid, presidents, we're talking about the whole structure of our supposedly civilization or the United States of America. And we're blind to it because we're so blind with hate and racism that we can't see people are stealing everything that we got. You're supposed to be loyal to your people who put you in office, but you're more loyal to your pocket. And so therein lies the problem. And so sometimes when you're telling the truth, your videos will start spinning, you know, they won't come, the internet acts like it's broke, okay? But that's all right. We're going to talk about it anyway.